Okay, what's good, YouTube fam? It's your boy Tony, aka Descendant of Chaos and Controversy, and man, this has been like the fifth time I tried to do this video because I didn't have enough storage space in my damn phone, and I've done the video. I've had it good content. I felt as far as my input goes on this particular subject in regards to Matt Gaetz, this fucker over here versus this general over here, and he want to attack him on the critical race theory issue. Yes, I know. But it's the disrespect. And it's crazy because what brought me to wanting to talk about this is when I was listening to Tucker Carlson's um, comments and disrespect towards this general. Now, it's funny how at one point in this country we was all about supporting the military, people disrespecting the military, and making people out to be this or that when it came to disrespecting the national anthem or whatever the case may be. We all remember that, right? I'm just trying to point that out so people can see where I'm going with this. Okay, so Tucker Carlson called this general a pig and was mocking his bringing up the white rage and trying to understand why it happened, what gave people the incentive to storm the Capitol. Okay, so and now mind you, Tucker Carlson also uh, interviewed this fucker right here for the allegations of child sex trafficking, which is an issue in this country as well as in other countries. You know, but anyway, I'm gonna get into this.
My previous discussions with service members and particularly officers, I would hear about complaints over parts not arriving on time, long deployments, and in my more recent discussions with those officers, the number one issue that they raised to me with concern, often unable to speak publicly for fear of the type of retribution that Lieutenant Colonel Lohmeyer faced, they say that your stand down regarding extremism did not help our military, it hurt the military. And I want to share with you that perspective, that it caused service members to otherize one another, it impaired group cohesion. And interesting to me is that I've heard those sentiments most frequently from units that are majority minority. That
Now you see how he's trying to dress this up, where he tried to say otherwise, like he's trying to say some of these discussions that take place when it comes to the military, they don't want to find themselves apart from, or feeling that they might be against, I don't know, their fellow military brothers, so to speak. Okay, and looking at them as being different or apart from, because of these discussions, the controversy that's surrounding, certain social discussions based upon race or racism, right? Now, he's going to get into bringing up the critical race theory, and the general is going to address it.
this was not particularly helpful, so I wanted to give you the opportunity to maybe share with us more specificity regarding the definitions that seemed to be a challenge when Ms. Hartzler was asking questions. How should the Department of Defense think about critical race theory?
Can I make a comment, Secretary? I'm sorry.
I'm very limited on my time, General Milley.
Well, I just want to make a comment.
Well, I know, but I've asked the question to Secretary Austin.
I don't know what the issue of critical race theory is, what the relevance here with the department. We do not teach critical race theory. We don't embrace critical race theory, and I think that's a.
Now, you see what he said, right? Now, I know I've shared my input on critical race theory and why it's being brought up and why is there so much pushback in regards to this whole topic of discussion. Now, the fear mongering is that, oh, It's teaching division. It's teaching people to look at other people based on their skin color. Okay, so I'm gonna get into that hypocrisy and this whole boogeyman concept. Okay, when slavery supposedly ended, and the general talks about it, he talks about it. Um, and there were certain things set in motion, certain things that were put in place, certain laws, certain policies, or whatever that forbidded or outlawed, whether it was integration, interracial marriages, or what have you, voting, um, education. Um, and I spoke on it before when it came to segregation. No, because a lot of people want to get all smart and talk about, well, I'm poor. Oh, where's my white privilege? Where's my white privilege? Um, I don't have these opportunities awarded to me. I'm poor. I have to struggle just like the next person. Okay, so I'm explaining to you where the sense of entitlement and privilege came about. We all know that this country was built on the back of slaves. The White House was built off of slave labor. Okay. Um, a lot of these laws were put into place to exclude people from voting, integrating in certain neighborhoods, getting loans, being approved for loans, moving up in jobs, having good education. I mean, these are some of the common examples that they have taught in history when it came to some of these things that held black people back. Okay? Now, when it came to segregation, I spoke on it before, but I'll reiterate it again. It's not discounting the fact that there are poor white people in this country. I'm very well aware of the fact that there are poor white people in this country. And you want to talk about division? Okay, well, the practice of the division in this country is nothing new. It's commonly practiced over and over and over again. Okay, and one's mainly responsible for the act of division is white people. No, you don't want to hear it, but it's a fact. Those that are the elites that are above, okay, that has the influence, that has the power, that has the control, the influence, okay. When you have people coming together, uniting on common ground because they share common interests, because they share common hardships, um, issues, or what have you. You know, um, it's a threat to those that are in power. Because when you can no longer control the masses of people, it's a threat to their position of authority. So, in order to create chaos, in order to create division, you have to somehow separate the two by excluding the other and granting certain privileges to the opposing side. And that's how segregation came about. Because when you had white people that were entitled and privileged to eat in restaurants that blacks couldn't go get food in, um, go to certain bathrooms, drink out certain water fountains, where you get to sit in front of the bus, the black people have to sit in the back of the bus, attend certain schools, have access to certain libraries, education, be in certain neighborhoods that were whites only, being a part of certain social clubs, whites only. Even in the military, there was segregation in the military. Okay, um, and it took people to fight against these laws, these barriers that were put in place that excluded and prevented people from for being a part of. But we are all supposed to be Americans, right? We are all supposed to be Americans, right? But there was a problem because there was a force behind this division. So even though you were still poor and white and probably still struggled, you were granted the privilege that excluded black people from having these certain entitlements. And people conveniently forget about that. And the act of segregation is always recycled. And then it's always somebody who was white that starts the ball rolling with, well, we don't accept that. We are in a disagreement of this. We are in disagreement of that. We don't approve of this. We don't approve of that. Oh, this is reverse racism. Oh, this is a threat to our existence. Oh, no, we can't have that. We can and it's like when you start to balance the scales, you start to see the movement starting to go, the shift, and it's like, oh, that's far enough. We can only allow you to go but so far. So many of you guys can just succeed. Nah, it's time to start pushing back. Nah, because now you're starting to override our numbers. And people want to sit there and say, well, Tony, I don't agree with you. I said, okay, that's fair enough. You don't have to agree with me. That's the privilege that we have in this country. We don't have to agree with each other. We don't. But it doesn't neglect the fact that what's apparent, okay, for example, how many white presidents were there in this country before we got to Barack Obama? And then moving past Barack Obama, what was the color of the presidents? But people want to use Barack Obama as a talking point, as an excuse to say, hey, you guys had a black president, there's no more racism. But still caught shit for being a president regardless. There was threats made against him because he was black. There was racial vulgarity thrown at him and his family. People making nooses of the president being hung, but there's no racism, right? Then you want to say he created division and stuff. How? How did he create division? Because the number one complaint within the black community is that even though we had a black president, Barack Obama really didn't do anything for the black people. There were no tangibles. But rather, he did things in support of another group. And it just so happened that the other group, racism applied.
Spurious conversation. And so we are focused on extremist behaviors and not ideology, not people's thoughts, not people's political orientation. Behaviors is what we're focused on.
I would like to yield some of my time to General Milley because I know that he had some comments that he wanted to make when Representative Gaetz was talking, as well as Mr. Waltz, about a similar subject of the stand down and race theory. Would you like a minute or so to comment on that? Do you remember what your line of questioning or thought was there?
Sure. First of all, on the issue of critical race theory, etc., I'll obviously have to get much smarter on whatever the theory is. But I do think it's important, actually, for those of us in uniform to be open-minded and be widely read. And the United States Military Academy is a university. And it is important that we train and we understand. And I want to understand white rage, and I'm white, and I want to understand it. So what is it?
Now, this is what I mean by taking an approach to a concerning matter. That when you see something as a problem, you want to understand why the problem exists. Why are white people angry? Because it's convenient when you have people who are white that always want to point out where black people are in the wrong. How we act, how we react, how we should act. You know, all these suggestions on how we need to respond to certain things that, affect the black community in regards to whether it's racism, injustices, um, police brutality. There's always someone else's outside opinion that suggests how we need to conduct ourselves. But when it comes to white people, they get to act like asses. And I don't mean to be generalizing, but you see the behaviors when you go to these college campuses and you get these fraternities and you get these people that are all out of control, lighting fires and stuff, turning cars over and stuff like that. Have some rape cases that occur during these little frat parties and stuff like that. People disorderly conduct, drunk and out of their fucking mind and shit. Or when you have some of these like football playoffs and stuff like that, the Super Bowls, when their team wins and stuff like that, and how they get all rowdy and out of control when you have the opposing team that loses and stuff like that, the rage and the reaction and stuff. And then you have the storming of the Capitol, where white people felt a certain way and felt like their rights were being violated, and how they responded.
That caused thousands of people to assault this building and try to overturn the Constitution of the United States of America. What caused that? I want to find that out. I want to maintain an open mind.
Getting the root to the root of the problem.
It's important that we understand that, because our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians, they come from the American people. So it is important that the leaders, now and in the future, do understand it. I've read Mao Zedong. I've read Karl Marx. I've read Lenin. That doesn't make me a communist. So what is wrong with understanding, having some situational understanding about the country for which we are here to defend? And I personally find it offensive that we are accusing the United States military, our general officers, our commissioned, non-commissioned officers, of being, quote, woke or something else because we're studying
Watch his condescending response.
that are out there. That was
See, he just had this discussed.
ago,
See, because he pointed out the immaturity. Well, you want to sit there and throw names. Now, here's the thing that I don't get. People are quick to get offended when you call them a communist, a racist, a liberal, a libtard, woke, a BLM supporter, or a Trump supporter, or whatever the case may be. All these labels that people are comfortable with throwing at each other, but then when somebody challenges you and say, we don't accept that, don't label me. If I have my point of view about something, that doesn't make me this, and it doesn't make me that. It doesn't make me a Republican or a Democrat or a pro this or a pro that. It's just I see things as being right, or I see things as being wrong, or I see things as being contradicting, or I see things as being hypocritical. Okay? Now, he says there's no problem with learning things. Now, I'm going to throw this out there, okay? And this is what I want to say in regards to the critical race theory thing, okay? Now, suppose me being an American, me being a person of color, I was so wrapped up in the whole pro-blackness and shit, and I'm so concerned about what's going on in my community and, having to point out the injustices and, basically pointing the finger at the white man. But it's beyond the whole simple, it's the white person's fault. No, it's people that are in power, the elites. And conveniently, they just so happen to be white. But in general, it's not all white people. But those in power are who they are. Okay? So, with that being said, suppose I was so wrapped up in my own bullshit that my own ignorance got the better of me and I said something reckless about Jewish people. Okay? Being insensitive about Jewish people. Okay? And I got checked on it. And I was told, you know what? You need to educate yourself on where the Jewish people are at today and why they feel how they feel. Boom. So I go to learn about the Holocaust. I go to learn of how Hitler came into power and the atrocities and the vile acts against humanity in regards to the Jewish people, the concentration camps, their families being ripped and torn apart, and how they had to rebuild and stuff, and how, you know, there was a big responsibility on Germany to acknowledge how they were wrong, and how what they did affected a whole group of people. And I learned that on my own merit so that I can have a better understanding, so I don't come across ignorant to people that, you know, have been through some shit or have had a history where it wasn't so pleasant. And not be condescending or be dismissive of. Okay?
That there were laws in the United States, antebellum laws prior to the Civil War, that led to a power differential with African Americans that were 3/4 of a human being when this country was formed. And then we had a Civil War and Emancipation Proclamation to change it. And we brought it up to the Civil Rights Act in 1964. It took another 100 years to change that. So look it, I do want to know. And I respect your service, and you and I are both Green Berets. But I want to know. And it matters to our military and the discipline and cohesion of this military. And I thank you for the opportunity to make a comment on that.
In my previous discussion.
So I'm gonna end it right there. But that right, and then you see how when he ended his point, he was respectful. He wasn't disrespectful to Matt Gaetz. He wasn't condescending. He didn't have how should I say a disrespectful mannerisms. You know, that seemed to just be dismissive. You know, just because, you know, he addressed him, he still acknowledged and said, you know, I respect where your position was as a Green Beret, whatever the case may be. Boom. But because of the entitlement of this individual right here, this is what you get. This is what many of us are up against. This is the privilege that we point out. And these are the people that throw out certain narratives and stuff that causes an uproar, that causes unnecessary division. And there are more things pressing that is more important to focus on than a CRT. And it's like I said, there are rights in this country, and I'll give one more analogy, and then I'm gonna end this video. Okay. I'm for the Constitution. I'm for our rights and everything like that. When people wanted to sit there and it begged the question, because I made my counter argument to under the comment section when it showed this 9-year-old girl that had an issue with the BLM poster or whatever in the hallway of her school or something like that. And I say, you know what? Those beliefs and those point of views start in the home. It doesn't start in the school. For you being against something, it comes from what you are taught in the home. Okay? But again, she has the right to disagree or be in disapproval of. Okay? Now, I said this. There was also pushback when Trump, was, running for president and stuff, how he had people where his supporters had the MAGA hats and the Trump support and the flags and stuff like that and the t-shirts to talk about Make America Great Again. Okay? How you doing? And that's my neighbor right there. He's a Trump supporter. He got a Trump flag. Has he come over and disrespected me? No. As a matter of fact, he came and gave my son a toy. We could talk civil. But, not getting off track, but there was people that was like attacking people that wore MAGA hats. It was stupid. So I say this. You might not agree with something. You may not agree with people's political stance on something, but you have to respect them. It didn't matter to me that you was a Trump supporter. It didn't matter to me, or did I fucking give a damn about you wearing a MAGA hat or a Make America Great t-shirt. Nor does it affect, or do I care about BLM fucking poster or flag or whatever t-shirt or a fucking face mask. People have a right to their own freedom of expression, no matter which side you on. That's what's supposed to make this country fucking great. The right that you have to express yourself and speak on your beliefs, whether you agree or disagree with it. But anyway, that's all I got to say. Until next time, until next video, peace.